She stared at Aria from across the courtroom, her face twisted in pure rage. Officers flanked her on both sides, their hands gripping her arms as she struggled against the handcuffs. "You crazy old bitch!" Miranda screamed, her voice echoing off the wooden walls. "You won't get away with this. I'll sue you. I'll destroy you." But Aria just smiled. A cold, satisfied smile she'd been holding back for months. Because 3 days ago, she'd done something no 68-year-old grandmother should ever have to do. She faked her own death to catch the woman who was poisoning her son. The woman who had done this before, twice. The woman who had nearly destroyed everything Aria loved. Aria's name is Aria Patterson. And this is how she stopped a serial killer. It started 8 months earlier, on a spring afternoon that felt like any other. Aria was in her kitchen. The same kitchen where she'd raised her son David alone after her husband died. The house was quiet. It had been quiet for 3 years now, ever since David moved into his own apartment in the city. She was washing dishes when her phone rang. "Mom." David's voice was bright, excited in a way she hadn't heard in years. "I need to tell you something." Aria's heart lifted. At 35, David had always been married to his career as a software engineer, making the $120,000 a year but never making time for relationships. She'd almost given up hope of grandchildren. "What is it, sweetheart?" "I met someone. Her name is Miranda." "Mom, I think she's the one." 2 months later, David brought Miranda home for Sunday dinner. The woman who walked through Aria's front door was stunning. 28 years old, with long dark hair that caught the light, bright green eyes, and a smile that could charm anyone. She carried a bouquet of tulips and a box of homemade cookies. "Mrs. Patterson," Miranda said, her voice warm and genuine. "David's told me so much about you. Thank you for having me." By the end of the evening, she was calling Aria Mom. They looked at photo albums together. Miranda laughed at stories about David's childhood. She asked questions about Aria's late husband. She helped with dishes without being asked. "You raised such a wonderful man," Miranda told her, squeezing her hand. "I can see where he gets his kindness." Aria went to bed that night thinking, finally, my son has found happiness. But something happened during dessert that she almost missed. Aria was telling a story about David's 8th birthday. How she tried to make him a dinosaur cake but accidentally made it look like a blob with teeth. Before she could finish, Miranda jumped in. "Oh, David told me about that!" "The T-Rex cake, right?" Aria paused. "Actually, it was supposed to be a Triceratops." Miranda laughed quickly. Right. I always mix those up." But David had never told her that story. Aria had never mentioned it before. She brushed it off. Maybe she had forgotten telling Miranda somehow. Then there was the photo incident. Aria pointed to David's high school graduation picture. He was so proud that day, valedictorian of his class. Miranda smiled. "I know. He talks about it all the time." But David had been salutatorian, 2nd place. It had bothered him for months back then. Why would he lie to Miranda about something so small? The strangest moment came when Miranda was helping in the kitchen. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her whole face changed. Just for a second. Something cold flashed across her features. Something calculating. She smiled again quickly and put the phone away. "Sorry. Just work stuff." But Aria had seen the contact name before Miranda turned the screen. "H 3 p.m. tomorrow. Why save a doctor's contact like that?" Aria called her friend Susan that night. "Am I crazy? There's something off about David's girlfriend." "Off how?" Susan asked. "I don't know. She's too perfect. Too eager. And these little things that don't add up." Susan was quiet. "Aria, you've been alone a long time. Maybe you're not ready to share David yet." Aria pushed her doubts away. She was being a paranoid mother. Nothing more. 3 months later, David called with news. "Mom, I proposed." She said yes. Aria's heart swelled and sank at the same time. That's wonderful, sweetheart. We want to get married soon, in 6 months. We don't want to wait. 6 months. That was fast. Are you sure you don't want more time? Mom, when you know. You and Dad were engaged after 6 months too. She had no room to argue. The wedding was beautiful. Aria cried through the entire ceremony, watching David in his suit, Miranda radiant in white. At the reception, Aria talked to one of Miranda's bridesmaids, a woman named Jessica. How long have you known Miranda? Aria asked. About 6 years, since grad school. So you've seen her through all her relationships? Jessica looked confused. Relationships? Miranda never really dated. She was always focused on her studies. Really? She told David she'd had serious boyfriends. Jessica's face went strange. I don't think so. Miranda was single the whole time I knew her. Why would Miranda lie? Aria tried to find Jessica later, but she'd already left. That night, Aria gave David and Miranda her wedding gift, a check for $50,000. Mom, this is too much, David said. I want you to have a good start. Buy a house. Start a family. Miranda hugged her tight. Thank you, Mom. You're so generous. But when she pulled away, Aria saw that flash again. Cold calculation. Then it vanished. For the first month, everything seemed normal. David called twice a week. They had lunch once. Then the calls became less frequent. Sorry, Mom. We're house hunting. They bought a beautiful home for $380,000, using her gift as part of the down payment. Can I visit this weekend? We're still unpacking. Maybe next month. Next month never came. Aria started calling David directly. He sounded different, distracted, distant.
Are you okay? You sound strange. I'm fine, Mom.
Just tired. I have to go. He'd hang up before she could say she loved him. Then came the phone call that shattered everything. It was a Tuesday afternoon. Aria called David's cell phone. He answered after 4 rings. Hello. His voice sounded confused. Hi, sweetheart, it's Mom. A long pause. A very long pause. I'm sorry. Who is this? Aria's world stopped spinning. David, it's Mother. You're Maria. I don't understand. I don't have a mother. The words hit her like a physical blow. David, what are you talking about? Of course you have a mother. I raised you. I was at your wedding 2 months ago. My wedding. Panic filled his voice. I don't remember a wedding.
Morale!
Footsteps. Muffled voices. Then Miranda's voice, tearful and shaking. Aria. Oh God, I'm so sorry. We were going to call you today. What's happening? Why doesn't David recognize my voice? Miranda took a shaky breath. The doctors diagnosed him with early onset Alzheimer's 3 weeks ago. Everything went cold. What? I know. We're still processing it. He's been forgetting things. Getting confused. Last week he forgot our address. Yesterday he didn't recognize our wedding photos. Aria couldn't breathe. That's impossible. We had lunch 6 weeks ago. He was completely normal. The doctors say it's an aggressive form. Early onset cases can progress extremely fast. They're trying medications. But I'm coming over right now. No, please don't. Miranda's voice was firm. He's very agitated. The neurologist said seeing people from his past might confuse him more. Just give us a few days. I'll call you. I promise. She hung up. Aria sat on her kitchen floor and cried. Her son had Alzheimer's. At 35 years old, for 3 days, Aria barely slept. She researched obsessively. Early onset Alzheimer's typically progresses gradually, over years, not weeks. Nothing she read matched what Miranda described. Then, at 3 a.m. on the 3rd night, she typed different words, conditions that mimic Alzheimer's, depression, vitamin deficiencies, brain tumors, and then drug-induced dementia. Certain medications can cause symptoms identical to Alzheimer's disease, including scopolamine. She clicked the link. Scopolamine blocks acetylcholine receptors in the brain, causing severe memory loss, confusion, disorientation. Effects can be temporary if discontinued. Her hands shook. Could someone be drugging her son? She called Susan. "Susan, I need your medical opinion." She told her everything: the diagnosis, the rapid progression, Miranda keeping her away. Susan was quiet for a long time. "Aria, you need to see him in person. If David really has Alzheimer's progressing this fast, he should be hospitalized, not isolated at home." "So you think something's wrong too?" "I think you need to trust your instincts." The next day, Aria drove to David's house. It was 10 a.m. on a Thursday. She knocked, no answer. She rang the doorbell, nothing. Both cars were in the driveway. She knocked harder. "David, Miranda, it's Mom." Finally, the door opened. Miranda stood there in yoga pants and an oversized sweater, looking exhausted. "Aria, I told you we needed time. It's been 4 days. I need to see my son." Miranda hesitated, then stepped aside. "He's sleeping. The medication makes him drowsy." Aria walked into the living room. Everything looked normal. Wedding photos on the walls. David's laptop on the table. "Can I see his medication?" Miranda went to the kitchen and returned with an orange prescription bottle. Donepezil 10 mg. For Alzheimer's treatment. Dr. Richardson. Mercy Hospital Neurology. Aria took a photo of the label with her phone. "I'd like to talk to his doctor." "Of course." Miranda texted her a number. Footsteps sounded upstairs. David appeared at the top of the stairs, disheveled and confused. "Miranda," he called down. "Who's here?" "Just a friend, honey. Go back to bed." He looked right at Aria, right into her eyes. Nothing, no recognition, no spark. "Okay?" he said quietly and turned away. Aria's son had just looked at her like a complete stranger. In her car, Aria called the number Miranda gave her. "Mercy Hospital Neurology. How can I help you?" "I'd like to speak with Dr. Richardson about my son, David Patterson." Hold music. Then, "I'm sorry, we don't have a Dr. Richardson in neurology. We have Dr. Richards, Dr. Robertson, and Dr. Richmond." Aria's heart pounded. "Can you check for a patient named David Patterson?" Typing sounds. "No patient by that name in our system, ma'am." Miranda had lied about the doctor, the hospital. That night thing. Aria did something she never thought she'd do. She became a stalker. She parked 3 houses down from David's at 6 p.m., waited. At 8 p.m., Miranda came out, got in her car, drove away. Aria waited 15 minutes. Then crept to the house. The living room curtains had a gap. She looked through. David sat on the couch, staring blankly at the TV. Then she heard Miranda's voice from the kitchen. She was back, on the phone. Aria pressed against the side of the house and listened. "Wes, it's working perfectly," Miranda said, laughing. "He can't remember anything before the wedding. Not his childhood, not his mother, nothing." Aria's blood turned to ice. "The medication is doing exactly what we need. Next week we get the psychological evaluation showing incompetence. Then power of attorney will change. Account transfers pause. In 3 months he won't remember his own name. Then phase 2, another pause. The mother, she's no problem. She's old and trusts me completely. She gave us da 50,000 at the wedding. Once we control David's assets and his inheritance from her, she's worth da 100,000. The old lady is irrelevant." Tears streamed down Aria's face. "Of course I've done this before. Richard, then Thomas. This is my 3rd time. I've made da 1.2 million so far. David's worth 800,000. My biggest score yet." Actually laughed. "No one suspects anything. Everyone thinks I'm the devoted wife. It's actually kind of fun." Aria ran back to her car, shaking. Her daughter-in-law was poisoning her son. Destroying his mind deliberately. She'd done this twice before, and Aria was next on her list. She needed proof, real proof. The next morning, Aria made a decision. She waited until 10 a.m., when Miranda had yoga class. Then she used the emergency key David had given her months ago. "David," she called, softly stepping inside. "It's Mom." Footsteps upstairs. David appeared, confused. "Hello. Who are you?" Aria's heart broke again. "Can we friend? Can we talk?" He nodded slowly. In the bedroom, Aria found the pill bottle on the nightstand. She took 3 pills, wrapped them in tissue, put them in her purse. "David, I need you to do something. Pretend to take your medicine, but don't swallow it. Can you do that?" He looked at her with lost eyes. Then, somewhere deep, a tiny spark flickered. "Why?" "Because I think the medicine is making you worse. But Miranda says." "I know what Miranda says. Will you trust me?" He stared at her. "Okay, I'll try." A car door slammed outside. Miranda was home early. Aria ran down the stairs and out the back door just as the front lock turned. She called Susan immediately from her car. "I need you to test these pills today." Susan met her an hour later. Aria handed her the tissue. "These should be donepezil for Alzheimer's, but I don't think they are." Susan examined them. "The shape is wrong. The markings are wrong. I'll take them to my friend at the pharmaceutical lab." 3 days later, Susan called, her voice shaking. "Aria, sit down. What did you find?" "Those pills are scopolamine and high-dose lorazepam. This combination causes severe memory loss and confusion. Symptoms virtually identical to dementia." Aria couldn't breathe. "Can it be reversed?" "If we stop the drugs now, yes. Most damage should be reversible. But if it continues much longer, there could be permanent effects. I need more evidence." That's when Aria called Frank Morrison, a private investigator recommended by her lawyer. She met him in his office and told him everything. The pills, the fake doctor, the phone conversation. Frank listened carefully. "Mrs. Patterson, what you're describing sounds like a sophisticated operation. If this woman has done it before, she knows how to cover tracks. Can you help? I'll investigate her background. But understand, if she realizes we're investigating, she might accelerate her plans." "What does that mean?" Frank's face was grim. "She might decide to get rid of witnesses, including you." "I don't care. My son's life is at stake. Give me 1 week." 5 days later, Frank called. "Come to my office now." Aria drove there immediately. Frank was waiting with a thick folder. "Sit down." He spread documents across the desk, photos, marriage certificates, death certificates, bank statements. "Your daughter-in-law is Miranda Chen, but everything else is a lie." He pushed the first documents forward. Miranda married Richard Patterson in 2019. He was 67. 4 months after the wedding, sudden onset dementia. His condition deteriorated rapidly. 6 months after marriage, he changed his will, leaving everything to Miranda. 2 months later, Richard died. The death certificate lists pneumonia, but notes cognitive decline. Aria's hands shook looking at Richard's photo, a kind-looking man with gray hair and a gentle smile. Frank pushed more documents. Miranda married again in 2021. Thomas Chen, age 71. Same pattern. 4 months after the wedding, severe memory problems. Within 6 months, declared mentally incompetent. His assets, house and $780,000 in investments. Transferred to Miranda. Thomas is still alive in a memory care facility. Staff say he doesn't recognize his own face, can't remember his name. Aria felt sick. "I spoke with Richard's daughter, Emily." Frank continued. "She never believed her father had dementia. He was sharp, then suddenly couldn't remember where he lived. Emily tried to investigate, but by then the will was changed and he was dead. Autopsy was clean. And Thomas. No living relatives. No one to advocate for him. Miranda has complete control." Frank pulled out a bank statement. After Richard died, Miranda received $450,000. After Thomas was declared incompetent, $780,000. That's $123 million in 4 years. Aria couldn't speak. "Your son is victim number 3. And based on the timeline, you're next." "What?" "Think about it. Once David is declared incompetent and assets transferred, you become the obstacle. You're worth $800,000. If something happens to you, sudden illness, accident, David inherits, Miranda controls everything." The room spun. "She's going to kill me. Or make it look natural." A 68-year-old woman stressed about her son has a heart attack. Who would question it? We go to the police now. Frank shook his head. We have pattern evidence. Circumstantial. But no direct proof Miranda is currently drugging David. A good attorney would tear this apart. The pills. You took them without permission. Evidence might not be admissible. Miranda can claim you planted them. So what do we do? Frank leaned back. We catch her in the act. Video evidence of her drugging David, a confession, something irrefutable. How? I have an idea. But it's risky. Frank pulled out another file. His face was even grimmer than before. Aria, there's something else you need to know. Something that explains why Miranda became this monster. He slid a photograph across the desk. A little girl, maybe 7 years old, with dark curly hair and bright green eyes. She was standing in front of a rundown apartment building, wearing a dress that was too small, holding a stuffed rabbit. She was smiling at the camera. Aria stared at the photo. The eyes were the same. But everything else, the innocence, the hope, the light, it was all gone now. This is Miranda Chen at age 7. Real name Miranda Louise Hartwell. Born in South Chicago to Rebecca Hartwell, a single mother working 3 jobs just to make rent. Father unknown, probably left before Miranda was born. Frank pulled out more documents, school records, social services files, medical reports. Miranda was a bright kid. Teachers said she was gifted. Reading at a college level by age 8. Math prodigy. Won the science fair 3 years in a row. One teacher roadie. Miranda has extraordinary potential. With proper support, this child could accomplish anything. He paused, and Aria saw sadness in his eyes. But proper support never came. Rebecca was drowning. 3 jobs, barely making rent, no family, no help. She loved Miranda, but she was exhausted. Broken. Frank pulled out another document. A marriage certificate. When Miranda was 8 years old, her mother met someone. Gregory Winters. 56 years old. CEO of a pharmaceutical distribution company, worth $4.3 million. He was charming, generous, swept Rebecca off her feet. Promised her everything, a mansion, security, no more struggling. Aria's stomach turned. She knew where this was going. Within 3 months, Gregory proposed. Offered Rebecca a life she'd only dreamed of. There was just one condition. Frank's voice got quieter, harder. He didn't want children, especially not another man's child. He wanted Rebecca to himself. Clean start. No baggage. Oh God, Aria whispered. Rebecca had an impossible choice. Stay poor, struggling, working herself to death. Or marry into wealth and give Miranda a better life, just not with her. Frank pulled out another document. Intake forms for St. Catherine's Home for Girls, a state-run facility. Rebecca chose wealth. She placed Miranda in St. Catherine's 3 weeks before the wedding. Told her it was temporary. You just until Mommy and Gregory get settled, baby. Then you'll come live with us in the big house. You'll have your own room. A yard to play in, I promise. He pulled out another photo. Miranda at age 9 in a gray institutional uniform, standing in a line with other girls. Her eyes were empty now. Dead. Miranda waited. Every single weekend she'd sit by the window of the group home, waiting for her mother to come get her. Other kids got weekend visits, foster placements, adoptions. Miranda just waited. Aria's eyes filled with tears. 3 months after she left, Rebecca visited once, pulled up in a Mercedes, brought expensive gifts, American Girl dolls, designer clothes, books, spent 30 minutes, made more promises, soon, sweetheart, very soon. Gregory just needs more time to adjust. Then she have away? Did she ever come back? Frank shook his head. Never, not once. No phone calls. No nothing. Miranda was abandoned completely. He pulled out psychological evaluations from the group home. By age 10, Miranda had stopped asking about her mother. Staff noted she became withdrawn, angry. Started getting into fights with other girls. At 11, she set fire to the stuffed rabbit her mother had given her. Watched it burn in the courtyard. Frank showed Aria a report from a counselor. Age 12. Miranda exhibits concerning attachment issues and inability to form emotional bonds. Recommends intensive therapy. But there was no money for therapy in a state facility. Age 13. Possible early signs of conduct disorder. Patient shows lack of empathy for others and manipulative behaviors. Age 14. A patient caught stealing from other residents. When confronted, showed no remorse. States she took what she needed because no one else would provide it. Aria wiped her eyes. What happened to her mother? Frank's expression darkened. Rebecca lived in luxury for 6 years. Mansion in Lake Forest. Country club membership. Charity galas. Then Gregory got bored. When Rebecca turned 40, he divorced her, citing irreconcilable differences. The prenup gave her $50,000 and an apartment. Everything else stayed with him. Did she try to contact Miranda then? Wes. When Miranda was 14, Rebecca showed up at St. Catherine's. Wanted to reconnect. Said she'd made a terrible mistake. What did Miranda do? Frank pulled out another report. According to the staff present, Miranda walked into the visiting room, looked at her mother for 10 seconds, then said, "Don't have a mother. My mother died 6 years ago." Then she walked out. Never saw Rebecca again. That summer, something changed. Miranda stopped fighting, stopped acting out, became a model resident. Helpful, charming. Staff thought she'd turned a corner. Frank's voice got cold. But she hadn't turned a corner. She'd learned something. She'd learned that people with money have power. People without money are worthless. And she'd learned exactly how to get money. He pulled out another file. Police reports, interview transcripts. At 16, Miranda met her first target. Gerald Hoffman, 52 years old, divorced, wealthy real estate investor. He frequented a coffee shop near Miranda's school. Aria's blood ran cold. Miranda approached him, started conversations. She was beautiful, intelligent, mature for her age. Gerald was lonely. Within weeks, they were meeting regularly. He bought her gifts, gave her money, set her up in a small apartment so she could study in peace. Miranda was 17 when Gerald's wife found out. She called the police, pressed charges. But Miranda was smart. She'd kept every text, every gift receipt, every check. Made it look like Gerald was the predator, she was the victim. Charges were dropped. Gerald paid her $25,000 to go away quietly. Frank showed Aria a photo of a young Miranda, maybe 17, sitting in a police interview room. She wasn't crying, wasn't scared. She was smiling slightly. That's when Miranda learned her system. Find wealthy, older men. Make them fall in love. Extract money. Move on. Over the next decade, Miranda cycled through at least a dozen men. Some relationships lasted months, some just weeks. She worked as a pharmaceutical sales rep. Good money, access to wealthy doctors and executives. Every relationship ended the same way. Miranda got paid, then disappeared. Then, about 6 years ago, she escalated. She realized dying men were worth more than living men. Especially men who could be made to look like they were dying naturally. Frank pulled out medical journals, prescription records, purchase histories. Miranda had access to medications through her job. She knew which drugs caused which symptoms. She knew how to mimic diseases. She knew how to make dementia look real. Richard Patterson was her first test. Widower, no children nearby, therefore $50,000 in assets. She married him, drugged him, drained him, and he died 8 months later. Clean autopsy. No one suspected anything. Thomas Chen was her second, bigger target. No children at all. $780,000 in assets. She married him, drugged him until he was declared incompetent, took everything, then left him in a memory care facility to rot. Aria felt sick. Your son, David, was supposed to be her masterpiece. Young enough that early onset dementia would be plausible. Wealthy enough to be worth the effort. And with a mother worth $800,000 who trusted Miranda completely. Frank leaned forward. Miranda didn't become evil because she's broken. She became evil because she's calculated. She decided that the world took everything from her, so she'd take everything from the world. She sees wealthy men as walking ATMs, their families as obstacles, their lives as products to be harvested. He pulled out one final document. A therapy transcript from when Miranda was 15, court-ordered after the Gerald Hoffman incident. Aria read the words written by the psychologist. Patient shows sophisticated manipulation skills and complete lack of empathy. When asked how she felt about the harm caused to Mr. Hoffman's family, patient stated, "Why should I care? No one cared when my family was destroyed." Patient exhibits classic markers of antisocial personality disorder. Without intensive intervention, prognosis is poor. Miranda never got that intervention. Frank closed the folder. "I'm telling you all this because you need to understand what you're dealing with. Miranda isn't some desperate woman making bad choices. She's a predator who's been perfecting her system for 20 years. She's intelligent, patient, and absolutely ruthless." Aria looked at the photo of 7-year-old Miranda again. The little girl with the stuffed rabbit and the bright smile. "That little girl deserved better," Aria said quietly. "But the woman she became has to be stopped." Frank nodded. "Agreed. So here's the plan." 3 days later, Aria stood in Frank's surveillance van parked 2 blocks from David's house. "You understand the risk?" Frank asked. "If Miranda realizes what we're doing, she'll run, or worse." "I understand." Frank pulled out a small device. "This is a body camera. Clips to your shirt looks like a button. Records video and audio. I'll be monitoring from here." He showed her a tiny earpiece. "I'll be able to hear everything. If things get dangerous, I'll call the police immediately." "What if she searches me?" "She won't. We're going to give her exactly what she wants." Aria took a deep breath. "Let's do this." She drove to David's house and knocked on the door. Miranda answered, surprised.
I wasn't expecting you.
"I know. I'm sorry to come by unannounced. It's important." Miranda hesitated, then smiled. "Of course. Come in." They sat in the living room. David was upstairs, Miranda said, napping. The medication made him sleep most of the day now. Aria's heart broke hearing that. "Miranda, I've been thinking about everything. About David's condition. About how hard this must be for you." Miranda's face softened. "It's been devastating. Some days I don't know how I'll get through it. I want to help. I've decided to update my will." Miranda's eyes flickered. Just for a second, interest, hunger. "You don't need to." "No, I want to. David is my only child. When I'm gone, everything should go to him. The 800,000 in assets. The house, investments, everything." "That's very generous, Aria. I've already spoken with my lawyer. The paperwork is ready. I just need to sign it next week. But I wanted to tell you first. When I'm gone, you'll control everything through David. You'll be secure. You can take care of him properly." Miranda reached over and squeezed her hand. "You're such a wonderful mother." The touch made Aria's skin crawl. "There's just one thing," Aria continued. "The lawyer said there's a waiting period. For estate changes this large, 6 months before the new will becomes valid." That was a lie. Frank had told her to say this. Miranda's expression didn't change, but Aria saw something flicker in her eyes. Calculation. 6 months. That's standard, I suppose. "Oh yes. I just wanted you to know. Whatever happens in the next 6 months, the old will is still in effect. After that, everything goes to David." Miranda smiled warmly. "Well, let's hope nothing happens. You're healthy as a horse." They talked for another 20 minutes. Miranda made tea, showed Aria photos of David sleeping, his face peaceful but empty. When Aria left, she drove straight back to Frank's van. "Did you get it?" Frank was reviewing the footage. Every word. She didn't take the bait, though. Too careful. "What now?" "Now we wait. If I'm right about her profile, She heard what you said. She knows she has to wait 6 months to get your money. But she also knows you're investigating. You're a threat. So what will she do? She'll try to neutralize you, make you look unstable, discredit you. Or what? Frank's face was grim. Or she'll try to kill you before you can change your will. Make it look like an accident or natural causes. Heart attack, fall, car accident. Then she gets David's inheritance from you immediately. Aria's hands shook. So I'm bait. You're bait. But you won't be alone. I've got eyes on you 24/7 now. You make one call, I'm there in 90 seconds. Police will be on standby. And if she does try something, then we'll have her. Attempted murder, conspiracy, drugging David, everything. Aria went home that night and barely slept. For 3 days, nothing happened. Frank's team watched Miranda's house. She followed her normal routine: yoga, grocery shopping, caring for David. Then, on the 4th day, Aria's doorbell rang. It was Miranda, holding a casserole dish. "Hi, Mom. I made too much lasagna. Thought you might want some." Every instinct Aria had screamed danger. But she smiled. How thoughtful. "Come in." Miranda set the casserole on the kitchen counter. "It's still warm. You should eat it while it's hot." "I will." "Thank you, sweetheart." Miranda lingered. "Are you feeling okay? You look tired." "Just not sleeping well. Worried about David." "I understand. You know, you should take better care of yourself. At your age, stress can be dangerous. Heart problems, strokes." The way she said it made Aria's blood run cold. "I'll be careful." Miranda hugged her goodbye. "Please eat the lasagna. I made it special for you." After Miranda left, Aria immediately called Frank. "She brought me food. Lasagna. Don't touch it. I'm coming now." Frank arrived in 10 minutes with a testing kit. He took samples of the lasagna and ran field tests. 15 minutes later, he looked up, his face pale. "This lasagna contains digoxin. A lot of it. Enough to cause a fatal heart arrhythmia in someone your age." Aria felt like she'd been punched. "She tried to poison me. She tried to murder you and make it look natural. An elderly woman, stressed about her sick son, has a heart attack after eating dinner. No one would question it. We've got her." Frank shook his head. "Not yet. She can claim she didn't make the lasagna. Someone else poisoned it. Or it was contaminated accidentally. We need more." "Then what?" Frank thought for a moment. "We'll give her what she wants." "What do you mean?" "You're going to die, Aria. Or at least she's going to think you did." The plan was insane. Aria knew it was insane, but it was the only way. 2 days later, at 8:30 p.m., Aria called Miranda. "Miranda." Her voice was weak, shaking. "I don't feel well. Chest pain. Having trouble breathing."
Oh my God, Aria, did you call 911? Not yet. Can you come?
"I'm scared." "I'm coming right now. Hold on." Aria hung up and immediately called Frank. "She's coming, ready. Ambulance is 2 blocks away. Officers are in position. Susan is standing by." Aria lay down on her kitchen floor and waited. 12 minutes later, she heard the front door open. Miranda had a key. David's emergency key. "Aria, where are you?" "Kitchen," Aria gasped. "Can't breathe." Miranda rushed in and knelt beside her. For a moment, just a moment, Aria thought she saw genuine concern on her face. Then Miranda pulled out her phone and checked the time, checked Aria's pulse, and smiled. "It's okay, Aria," Miranda said softly. "Just relax. Let it happen." Aria's blood turned to ice. Miranda wasn't calling 911. She was waiting for her to die. "Miranda, help me." "Shh. It's almost over. You won't feel anything soon." Miranda sat back against the cabinet and watched. Actually watched her die. Aria let her eyes flutter closed. "That's it," Miranda whispered. "Just let go." 5 minutes passed. Aria lay perfectly still, holding her breath as long as she could, then breathing so shallowly it was nearly invisible. Miranda checked her pulse again. Seemed satisfied. She stood up and pulled out her phone. This time, she called 911. "Help, my mother-in-law. I came to visit and found her on the floor. I think she's had a heart attack." Miranda's voice was perfect, panicked, devastated. Then she made another call. "It's done. The old lady's dead. Looks like a heart attack, just like we planned. Yeah, the lasagna worked. No, don't worry. I made sure no one saw me. David's still at home, sedated." She paused, listening. "Now we wait 2 weeks. Let the estate settle. Then we get David declared incompetent, and everything transfers to us. $100,000 plus the house. Our biggest score yet." Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. "I have to go. Ambulance is coming. Time to play the grieving daughter-in-law." She hung up and knelt beside Aria again. When the paramedics burst through the door 30 seconds later, Miranda was crying. "Please help her. Please! She's not breathing!" The paramedics rushed over. Susan, who was one of them as planned, immediately started working. "Ma'am, please step back." Susan checked Aria's vitals while her partner brought in equipment. She looked at Miranda, her face grave. "I'm sorry. She's gone." Miranda covered her mouth and sobbed. Perfect performance. They loaded Aria's body onto a stretcher and into the ambulance. Miranda followed in her car to the hospital. In the ambulance, Susan leaned close to Aria. "You can stop now. We got everything." Aria opened her eyes. Did it work? Every word. She confessed to the poisoning and conspiracy. Frank recorded everything. Police are already at her house arresting her. At the hospital. They brought Aria in through the back entrance. Miranda was in the waiting room, still playing the devastated daughter-in-law, talking to a victim's advocate. Detective Sarah Chen approached her. "Mrs. Patterson." "Yes." Miranda's eyes were red, tears streaming. "I'm Detective Chen. I have some questions about your mother-in-law's death." "Of course. Anything to help." "Chen, you tell me what happened." Miranda repeated her story. She'd come to visit, found Aria on the floor, called 911 immediately. She'd tried to help but didn't know CPR. "And you visited her 2 days ago." "Wes, I brought her dinner. Lasagna. I was worried about her eating properly." "That was kind of you. Did she eat it?" "I don't know. I hope so." Detective Chen nodded. "Mrs. Patterson, I need you to come with me." "Why? What's happening?" "You're under arrest for attempted murder, conspiracy to commit fraud, and elder abuse." Miranda's face went white. "What? That's insane. I would never." "We have your confession. On tape. And the lasagna you made, it tested positive for digoxin. Enough to kill someone." "I don't know what you're talking about." "You called someone after you found Mrs. Patterson. Told them it's done and the lasagna worked. We have that recorded too." Miranda's mask finally cracked. The grief vanished. The warmth vanished. What remained was cold, calculating rage. "You can't prove anything." "We can prove everything. The medication you've been giving David, scopolamine. We have the pills. We have witnesses. We have the prescriptions you forged. We have your previous victims." "What previous victims?" "Richard Patterson, Thomas Chen. We've been investigating you for 6 days. We know everything." That's when Aria walked through the door. Miranda's mouth fell open. "But you're dead. I checked your pulse. You weren't breathing." Aria smiled. "I was acting. And you failed. You crazy bitch." Miranda lunged at her, but 2 officers grabbed her arms. "You won't get away with this. I'll sue you." "Sue me for what?" "Catching you trying to murder me." "I'll destroy you." "You already tried. You failed." They dragged Miranda out, still screaming threats. Detective Chen turned to Aria. "That was incredibly brave. And incredibly stupid. My son was dying. What else could I do? You could have been killed. But I wasn't." The next 3 weeks were a blur. Police raided Miranda's house and found everything. The stockpile of medications. The forged prescriptions. The financial records showing the money from Richard and Thomas. The burner phone she used to coordinate with an accomplice, a former boyfriend who helped her plan the poisonings. David was hospitalized immediately. They stopped the medication and started treatment to flush the drugs from his system. Aria sat beside his bed every single day. For the first week, David didn't recognize her, didn't recognize anyone. He'd stare at the walls, confused, lost. But slowly, very slowly, things started coming back. First, his own name. "I'm David," he said one afternoon like he was discovering something new. "My name is David," Aria cried. Then, his birthday, his high school, his college. On day 12, he looked at Aria and his eyes focused. "Mom." She grabbed his hand. "Yes, sweetheart, it's me. What happened? Why am I in the hospital?" "You've been sick, but you're getting better now." "Where's Miranda?" Aria took a breath. "Miranda is gone. She hurt you, but she can't anymore." Piece by piece, they explained everything. David remembered almost nothing from the past 6 months. The wedding was a blur. The house a vague dream. "She made me forget you," he said, tears streaming down his face. "My own mother. How is that possible? It doesn't matter now. You're back. That's all that matters." 3 months later, the trial began. Aria testified. Frank testified. Susan testified. Emily, Richard Patterson's daughter, testified. Nurses from Thomas Chen's care facility testified. The evidence was overwhelming. The jury deliberated for 3 hours, guilty on all counts: attempted murder, conspiracy, fraud, elder abuse, drugging, forgery. 45 years in prison. That's when Miranda screamed at Aria from across the courtroom. "You crazy old bitch. You won't get away with this." But Aria just smiled, because she already had. 6 months later, Aria and David sat in a lawyer's office with Thomas Chen's guardianship paperwork. With Miranda in prison and all financial claims dissolved, Thomas was finally free. They'd found him a new care facility with proper treatment. And slowly, very slowly, his memory was returning. "He'll never fully recover," the doctor said. "But he's getting better. He can recognize faces now, remember his name most days." "That's more than Miranda left him with," Aria said. They decided to visit Thomas together. He was 7'1" now, frail, living in a bright room with windows overlooking a garden. "Mr. Chen," Aria said gently as they entered. "I'm Aria. This is my son, David." Thomas looked up from his chair. His eyes were clearer than they'd been in years. "You," he whispered. "You're the ones who saved me." "We tried," David said. "We wanted to meet you." Thomas's hands shook. "She took everything. My name, my memories, my life." "I know," Aria said, sitting beside him. "She did the same to David. But you're free now. She can't hurt you anymore." "I can't remember." Thomas's voice broke. "I can't remember my wife's face. I was married for 40 years. I know I was. But I can't see her anymore." David reached out and held Thomas's hand. "The doctors say the memories might come back, some of them. But even if they don't, you're survived. That matters." Thomas looked at David for a long moment. Then, something shifted in his expression. Recognition. Understanding. "You forgot too. She made you forget too." "Yes." "But you got your mother back." "Yes." Thomas's eyes filled with tears. "Then there's hope. If you got her back, maybe I can get something back too." They sat with him for 2 hours. Showed him photos of his life that social services had found. His wedding, his children who died young, his career as an architect. "I designed buildings," Thomas said, wonder in his voice. "I made things that lasted." "Arias," Aria said. "You did." When they left, Thomas squeezed Aria's hand. "Thank you for not giving up, for stopping her. Thank you for surviving," Aria said. "For holding on long enough for us to find you." David was cleared by doctors 4 months after his hospitalization. The cognitive effects were reversible. He'd lost 6 months of memories, but everything before that was intact. "You're lucky," his neurologist said. Another few months and the damage would have been permanent. David started therapy, started rebuilding his life, started dating again, very carefully this time. 6 months after the trial, He brought someone to Sunday dinner at Aria's house. Her name was Rachel. She was 34, a teacher, with kind eyes and a genuine smile. "David's told me everything," Rachel said when they were alone in the kitchen. "About Miranda. About what you did to save him. I just did what any mother would do." "No," Rachel said firmly. "Most people would have believed the lie. Most people wouldn't have trusted their instincts. You saved his life." Aria looked through the doorway at David, laughing at something on TV. He looked healthy, happy, like himself again. "He saved himself," Aria said. "He survived. I just helped him find his way back." Rachel squeezed her hand. "I promise you, Mrs. Patterson, I will never hurt him. I will never lie to him. I will love him exactly as he is." Aria looked into Rachel's eyes and saw only truth. "I believe you." At dinner, David made an announcement. "I've been working with the police. They've identified 4 other women with Miranda's pattern. Women who target wealthy older men. They're investigating now." "That's good," Aria said. "And I've started a foundation for elderly financial abuse victims to help families recognize the warning signs, get legal help, protect vulnerable people." Aria's eyes filled with tears. "Your father would be so proud." "I'm proud of you, Mom. You taught me that family is worth fighting for, worth risking everything for." Rachel raised her glass to Aria. "The bravest person I know." They all drank. 10 years later, Miranda's first parole hearing. Aria was 78 now. Slowed down a little, got reading glasses, started forgetting where she put her keys, but her mind was sharp. And she never forgot Miranda. Miranda was 45 now. Her hair was fully gray. She'd put on weight. Looked like a tired middle-aged woman. Harmless. But her eyes were the same. "I've spent 15 years working on myself," Miranda told the parole board. "I've become a mentor to younger inmates. I've completed 2 college degrees. I've done everything asked of me." Aria stood up without being called. "This woman destroyed 3 lives, murdered 1 man, permanently damaged another, tried to kill me and my son, and you're considering letting her out." The board chair looked annoyed. "Mrs. Patterson, you'll have your turn. No, you'll listen now." Aria's voice was steel. "I'm 78 years old. I've spent 15 years making sure Miranda Chen doesn't hurt anyone else. And I'll spend my last breath making sure she stays exactly where she belongs." She pulled out another folder. This one was thicker. "These are incident reports from Miranda's time in prison. She's been written up 17 times for manipulating other inmates, for stealing, for lying, for running extortion schemes." The board members looked surprised. They hadn't been given these reports. "She's been a model prisoner. Only when you're watching, behind the scenes, she's the same predator she's always been." Aria had spent months gathering this information, talking to guards, inmates, counselors. She told one inmate she was practicing for her release, learning how to play the system better, learning from her mistakes. She said when she got out, she'd be untouchable next time. Miranda's face was stone. "She hasn't changed. She's just gotten better at hiding." Parole denied. 5 more years passed. Aria was 83 now. She'd had a stroke. Recovered mostly, but she was frailer, slower. David wanted her to stop. "Mom, you've done enough. Let someone else carry this. No one else will. Everyone who remembers what she did is gone. Emily died 3 years ago. The detectives retired. I'm the only one left who knows what she is. Then I'll go. No, this is mine to finish." The 3rd parole hearing was different. Miranda was 50. She looked elderly now, small, frail. She'd developed arthritis, walked with a limp. "I'm an old woman," she told the board. "I've spent 20 years in prison. I have no family, no prospects. I just want to live out my final years in peace." She cried real tears this time. "I understand if you don't believe I've changed. I understand if you keep me here until I die. But I'm asking for mercy, for compassion, for a chance to know what freedom feels like before I'm too old to experience it." It was a good performance, maybe her best. Then Aria stood up. She was old now, had to use a walker. Her voice was weaker, but her eyes were sharp. "I'm 83 years old," Aria said. "I've had 2 strokes, cancer twice. I'm dying. Slowly, but dying." The room went quiet. "Miranda knows this. She's waited 20 years for me to become too weak to stop her. Too sick to fight. Too dead to testify." Aria pulled out one final folder. This one she'd prepared with David. "This is a legal document. Sworn testimonies from everyone Miranda has ever hurt. Video statements, recordings, everything documenting what she did and who she is." She handed it to the board chair. "When I'm gone, my son will continue this fight. His children will continue it. Miranda Chen will never manipulate her way to freedom, because we will never forget." Aria looked at Miranda. "You wanted to outlive me. You wanted to wait until I couldn't fight anymore. But I've made sure my voice carries on. Forever." Miranda's face twisted in rage. The mask finally shattered completely. "You miserable old bitch," she screamed.
You've stolen my entire life, my youth.
My freedom. Everything." Guards moved toward her, but she kept screaming. "I should have killed you when I had the chance. I should have poisoned you properly. I should have made you suffer the way you've made me suffer." The board members stared in shock. "I hate you." Miranda's voice broke. "I hate you more than I've ever hated anyone. You took everything from me." Guards dragged her from the room as she screamed threats and curses. The board chair looked at Aria. "I don't think we'll need to deliberate. Parole denied. Permanently. Miranda would die in prison." 2 months later, Aria was in her garden when David's car pulled up. He got out looking shaken. "Mom, I just got a call from the prison." Aria's heart sank. "What happened?" "Miranda's dead. She collapsed in the yard yesterday. Heart attack. They tried to revive her but couldn't." Aria sat down on her bench. She felt nothing, no triumph, no sadness, just emptiness. She was 50 years old. Aria said quietly. "The warden said she'd been sick for a while. Refused treatment. They think she gave up. Or she finally realized she'd never get out." They sat together in silence. "Do you feel bad?" David asked. Aria thought about the little girl in the photo. The 7-year-old with the stuffed rabbit. The girl who'd been abandoned and broken and never recovered. "I feel sad for the child she was," Aria said. "The girl who deserved better. Who could have been something beautiful if anyone had loved her right. And the woman she became. The woman she became chose to hurt people. Chose to destroy lives. Chose to be a monster. And I'm glad she can't hurt anyone anymore." They held a memorial service for Miranda. Not because anyone mourned her, but because someone should mark the end of a human life. Even a life lived badly. 3 people came to the service. Aria, David, and a prison chaplain who'd tried for years to reach Miranda's soul. "She never let anyone in," the chaplain said quietly. 20 years I talked to her. 20 years I tried. She never once showed genuine remorse. Never once took real responsibility. She always had an excuse. A justification. Someone else to blame." "Did she ever talk about her mother?" asked Ari. "Every day. Until the day she died, she blamed her mother for everything. Said if Rebecca hadn't abandoned her, she would have been different. Would have been good." "Maybe she would have," Aria said. "Maybe." The chaplain agreed. "But we'll never know. Because she chose to let that abandonment define her. Chose to let it destroy her. And chose to destroy others because of it." They buried Miranda in a prison cemetery, a simple grave with a simple stone. Amira Elisa Can, 1975-2025. No beloved wife. No loving daughter. Just a name and dates. 3 weeks after Miranda's death, Aria received a package from the prison. Miranda's belongings. The few things she'd owned. Some books. Prison-issued clothing. And a letter. The letter was addressed to Aria. Written the day before Miranda died. Aria almost didn't open it. What could Miranda possibly have to say after all these years? but curiosity won again. The letter was different from all the others. No rage. No threats. Just exhaustion. Aria, by the time you read this, I'll be dead. I've stopped taking my heart medication. The doctors say I have maybe a week. I'm ready. I've been ready for years. I won't apologize. You don't want my apology, and I don't have one to give. I'm not sorry for trying to take what I deserved. I'm only sorry I failed. But I want you to understand something. I want you to know that I know what you did. You didn't just put me in prison. You didn't just take away my freedom. You took away my purpose. For 20 years, I've had nothing. No plans. No future. No reason to wake up, because everything I am, everything I know how to be, is locked away in here with me. You didn't just win. You erased me. And I hate you for it. I hate you with every remaining breath in my body. But I also understand you. You fought for your son. You did terrible things, lying, manipulating, faking your own death. Because you loved him. You became a monster to fight a monster. So in a way, we're the same. We both did monstrous things for the people we loved. The only difference is you loved someone who loved you back. I never had that. I never knew what that felt like. My mother chose a man over me. Every man I ever met saw me as either a victim or a mark. No one ever loved me for me. No one ever fought for me the way you fought for David. And maybe that's why I became what I became. Because the world taught me that love is transactional, that people are resources, that survival means taking before someone takes from you. You had a husband who loved you, a son who loved you, people worth fighting for. I had no one, and now I'm dying alone in a prison hated by everyone who knows my name. So congratulations, Aria. You won completely. I hope it was worth it. Miranda. Aria read the letter 3 times. Then she folded it carefully and put it in a box with all the others. 6 months later, Aria was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, stage 4. Inoperable. The doctors gave her 6 months, maybe a year. She was 84 years old. She'd lived a full life. I'm ready, she told David calmly. Mom, no. Sweetheart, I've had a good life. I raised you. Watched you build a family. Saved you when you needed saving. Stopped a monster. That's more than most people get. I'm not ready to lose you. I know. But it's time. Aria spent her final months doing what she loved. Gardening. Playing with her grandchildren. Sitting in the sun. She wrote letters to each grandchild to be opened when they turned 18. Telling them her story. Teaching them what she'd learned. Sometimes, she wrote, loving someone means doing hard things. Scary things. Things that change you. But if you love someone, truly love them, you do those things anyway. Because some people are worth fighting for. And some monsters need to be stopped. Trust your instincts. Protect the people you love. And never let anyone tell you that being kind means being weak. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is stop someone from hurting others. I love you. Be brave. Be good. Be strong. Grandma Aria. On a Tuesday in October, surrounded by her family, Aria Patterson died peacefully in her sleep. She was 84 years old. At her funeral, hundreds of people came. Lives she'd touched. People the foundation had saved. Families who'd been protected because of her work. David gave the eulogy. My mother was the bravest person I've ever known, he said, his voice shaking. She saved my life, not once, but twice. First, when she gave birth to me and raised me alone after my father died. And second, when she refused to believe I was sick and fought to find the truth. He held up a photo of Aria in her garden, smiling, surrounded by flowers. She taught me that love isn't passive, love is active, love fights. Love protects. Love does whatever it takes to keep the people it loves safe. She also taught me that justice matters, that monsters exist, and that good people have to stand up and stop them, even when it's hard. Even when it costs them something. My mother paid a price for stopping Miranda. She spent 15 years fighting. She sacrificed her peace. She carried guilt even though she'd done nothing wrong. But she never regretted it. Because she saved lives. She protected people. She made the world safer. David's voice broke. And she did it all while being kind, while being gentle, while loving us fiercely. She never became the monster she fought. She never lost herself. That's who my mother was. A warrior wrapped in kindness. A protector wrapped in love. The strongest person I've ever known. He raised his glass. To Aria Patterson, the woman who taught me that love means fighting for what matters. Thank you, Mom, for everything. Everyone raised their glasses. To Aria. They buried her next to her husband, in a peaceful cemetery overlooking a lake. The headstone read, Blivid Motiar, Dranda Motatir PR Cht Fartioasis Lovid. 20 years later, Emma Patterson Chen, Aria's granddaughter and now a senior prosecutor, stood before law students at Northwestern University. She was 35 years old now. A senior prosecutor, guest lecturer, mother of two. Today I want to tell you about a case that changed my life, she began. About my grandmother, Aria Patterson, and the serial predator she stopped. She pulled up a photo. Aria in her garden, smiling. My grandmother was 68 years old when she discovered her daughter-in-law was poisoning her son. She had no legal training, no police experience, just instinct and love. Emma told the story. Every detail, death, the confession, the 15-year fight. The students listened, captivated. My grandmother taught me that justice isn't just about laws and courts. It's about refusing to let evil win. About standing up even when everyone thinks you're crazy. About fighting for the people who can't fight for themselves. She pulled up statistics. Since my grandmother stopped Miranda Chen, our foundation has identified and stopped 73 similar predators. 73. That's 73 Mirandas who were caught before they could destroy more lives. That's my grandmother's real legacy. Not just saving my father, but starting a movement that saved thousands. A student raised her hand. Do you think Miranda Chen could have been saved if someone had helped her when she was young? Emma thought about the photo she'd seen. 7-year-old Miranda with the stuffed rabbit. Maybe. Probably. If her mother hadn't abandoned her. If the system had given her real help. If someone had shown her that love doesn't have to be transactional. But by the time my grandmother met her, it was too late. Miranda had chosen her path. Had become what she'd become. And all my grandmother could do was stop her from hurting more people. That's the tragedy. Miranda was created by the people who failed her. But she became a monster by her own choices. Both things are true. Another student asked, was your grandmother ever wrong? Did she ever doubt herself? Every day, Emma said. She carried guilt until she died, wondering if she could have done something different. Something better. That's what made her human. But being human doesn't mean being weak. My grandmother was human, full of doubt, fear, guilt. And she still did what needed to be done. That's courage. Not the absence of fear, but action despite it. Emma pulled up one final slide. Aria's words from the letters she'd written. Sometimes loving someone means doing hard things. Scary things. Things that change you. But if you love someone, truly love them, you do those things anyway. That's what my grandmother taught me. That's what I'm teaching my children. That's what I hope you'll carry with you. Love fights. Love protects. Love never gives up. And sometimes, that's the only thing that can stop a monster. The class was silent. Then, slowly, one student started clapping. Then another. Then another. Until the entire room was standing applauding. For Aria Patterson. The grandmother who'd become a hero. The ordinary woman who'd done extraordinary things. The 68-year-old who'd refused to let evil win. Emma smiled through tears. Thank you, Grandma, she whispered. Your story lives on. Aria's grave still overlooks the lake. Flowers always fresh, visitors constant. The headstone reads Aria Patar sound, beloved Makar, Atar, yes, CHTT Fawar T Tosishay Luvid. But if you look closely, someone has added words at the bottom. Written in permanent marker, refreshed every year. Ain Seshi Wan. Because she did. How did Aria's story impact you? Maybe you're also fighting your own battle for justice, for equality, or simply to make your voice heard. Maybe you're a woman quietly resisting, or maybe you're an ally supporting an Aria. What's your story? What obstacles have you overcome? What battles have you won? Or are you still fighting? Share in the comments. Because every voice, every story can inspire someone else. Just like Aria's story still echoes 100 years later. Share, tag, and send this story to those who need to see it. Maybe the strength they need is hidden right here in this story. And remember, subscribe for more inspiring stories. Because every story can start a revolution.